There's a certain silence in the desert that never leaves you. Not even when you're halfway across the damn world. Back in the arms of people who smile too easily and ask you how you're sleeping. That silence, that edge, it follows you. Like a shadow you can't shake. My name's Brian Coleman. Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army, retired. 22 years, 5 tours, 2 divorces, though only one made the paperwork. The other one? That was more of a spiritual death. This story ain't about war, not really. It's about what came after. What waited for me back home, in a quiet little cul-de-sac in North Carolina, behind a white picket fence and a front porch swing that creaked like a loaded question. Her name was Hannah. Met her in a diner outside Fayetteville after my second deployment. She was all honey voice and sharp wit, knew how to make a man feel like he mattered even when he was sweating sand out of his pores. We got married fast. Too fast. I was chasing normal, and she wore it like perfume. We had 10 decent years. Not perfect, not hell either. Just normal. Dull in the way you pray for when you've spent months counting IEDs on every road. She stayed back, kept the house running, raised our dog like a kid, sent me care packages with jerky and letters that smelled like vanilla lotion. But things changed. Not all at once. That's the trick. It's never a bomb, it's a leak. A slow, steady drip that you ignore until your whole damn house is rotted out from under you. The last tour was different. She called less. Emails got shorter. Her voice on video calls was off. Like she was playing a part, and the script was wearing thin. I chalked it up to stress. Loneliness. It's hard being the one left behind. I get that. But even back then, something in my gut twisted every time her name popped up on the screen. Then came the envelope. No return address. Just Coleman scrawled across the front like a warning. Inside? 2 photos and a note. No signature. No explanation. Just a message. You don't know the whole story. She's not who you think she is. He's not just a friend. They don't even try to hide it anymore. Thought you should see it for yourself. The photos were grainy, but clear enough. Hannah. My Hannah. Leaning into some guy at a bar near Fort Bragg. Laughing. His hand on her back. Real familiar-like. I stared at those photos until my eyes burned. Didn't recognize the guy. Not yet. Didn't say a word to anyone. Not yet. The last 2 weeks of deployment dragged like a bad dream. I smiled for the boys, kept my boots polished, ran patrols like nothing was wrong, but inside, a switch had flipped. Something old and dark had stirred. When I got home, I didn't tell her I was coming early. Wanted to see her natural. No prep. No time to hide the truth. Pulled up to the house at 0600. Sun just breaking over the trees. Birds chirping like they hadn't a care in the world. Her car was there. So was another one. Black Dodge Charger. Military plates. Out of state. I didn't knock. I didn't ring. I unlocked the door quiet as a ghost and stepped inside my own home like I was clearing a room in Fallujah. The silence wasn't the peaceful kind. It was loaded. Charged. Then I heard it. A laugh. A man's laugh. Coming from my bedroom. I didn't move. I just stood there in the entryway of my own house, breathing through my nose, fists clenched at my sides. That laugh, it wasn't loud, but it had that sound. The kind that comes from someone who thinks they're safe. Comfortable. That's the kind of laugh that makes a man violent. The Charger in the driveway had Georgia plates. Military tags. I'd clocked the VIN and the bumper sticker 82nd Airborne. My old unit. Not a coincidence. The bastard had nerve. I'll give him that. I stepped lightly, boots barely touching the hardwood. You spend years sweeping buildings and combat zones, you learn how to move like a shadow. And right now, my own home felt like a damn combat zone. There was music playing, low, some country song I didn't recognize. The smell of eggs and bacon drifted down the hallway. She was cooking him breakfast. That part cut deeper than I expected. It was domestic. Familiar. Too casual. I reached the bedroom door and paused. Her voice filtered through, playful, light. You're gonna get me in trouble. A man's chuckle followed. Pretty sure the only trouble you got is how fast you make those eggs. They both laughed. I'd heard that tone before. That soft, flirty edge she used to use on me. Before deployments. Before the distance grew too wide to cross. I didn't open the door. I turned and walked back down the hall. Out the front door. Slow. Controlled. Because if I went in there, it wouldn't end with words. It'd end with blood. And I needed answers more than I needed the satisfaction of breaking some punk's jaw. Not yet. Not like that. I got in my truck, hands gripping the steering wheel tight enough to make the leather creak. I sat there for a full 5 minutes, staring at the house. My house. Our house. I knew what I saw, what I heard, but something didn't add up. Why the note? Why the photos from a stranger? Why not just tell me outright? This wasn't just about cheating. It felt orchestrated, calculated, and that made it more dangerous. I drove to the only place I could think of where someone still owed me a favor. Retired Gunnery Sergeant Ray Mathis ran a security outfit out of a strip mall north of town. Ex-Marine. Paranoid as hell. But good people, in his own crusty, no BS way. He saw me coming and grinned. Well, I'll be damned. Brian Coleman, back from the sandbox. Still got sand in my boots, I muttered. He pointed at my face. And something in your eyes. Who needs to disappear? I gave him a look. Not yet. Fair enough. He poured coffee. Black. No sugar. We sat across from each other like we used to, quiet, until it mattered. You ever hear of a soldier named Travis Dean? I asked. Mathis leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing. Yeah, I know the name. Hothead. Transferred to Bragg last year. Got flagged for inappropriate behavior with a married officer's wife on base. Charges dropped. Lack of evidence. Fits the profile, I said flatly. Mathis studied me. You think he's banging your wife? I know he is, I said. But I need more than that. I want everything on him. Service record, associations, disciplinary actions. And if there's any footage of him near my house while I was overseas. You want recon? Mathis said, nodding. Fine. I'll put eyes on him. Quietly. I don't do loud anymore. I slid a small envelope across the table. Cash. Untraceable. This should get things moving. He didn't even open it. For you? It's on the house. Always knew you'd come back needing something ugly. I stood, cracked my neck. It's gonna get uglier before it gets better. One question, Brian, he said as I reached the door. Yeah, you here to save your marriage? Or bury it? I didn't answer. Because I wasn't sure yet. But something in my gut told me this wasn't just about Hannah and Travis. There was more. And whoever sent that envelope, they were pulling strings. Someone wanted me to see what she was hiding. And I was going to find out who. And why. I didn't go home that night. Hell, I didn't even call. I slept in my truck at the edge of Jordan Lake, engine off, window cracked, Beretta under the seat. It's the kind of sleep you don't rest in, just enough to keep your eyes from burning and your hands steady. Combat taught me how to live in the in-between. The next morning, I parked 2 blocks from the house and watched. Surveillance. The old way. Not with drones or satellites, just patience and a thermos of black coffee. Nothing moved for the first hour. Then the door opened. He came out. Clean-shaven, sunglasses, cocky stride. Travis Dean. I recognized him from base. Pretty boy type. Smooth talker. The kind of guy who never shut the hell up in a briefing. Always with his damn sleeves rolled high like he needed everyone to know he hit the gym more than the range. He had a key. Not just unlocking the door, he had the damn key. Walked out like he lived there. That was confirmation. She didn't just cheat. She gave him access. To my house. My life. He strolled to the Charger, the one with the 82nd Airborne decal and 2 parking tickets tucked under the wiper. I watched him light a cigarette, check his phone, and laugh at something on the screen before he peeled out like he owned the road. I could have followed. But I didn't want him right now. I wanted her. I waited 2 more hours. Long enough to be sure he wasn't circling back. Then I walked up the porch steps and used my own key. The real one. The one made back when we were still us. The smell hit me first. His cologne. Not even subtle. A cheap, synthetic mess that lingered like smoke. The kind of smell you don't forget once you've been around it. I moved room to room. Nothing was out of place. No signs of struggle. But everything felt wrong. Off balance. Like someone had rearranged the soul of the house. In the bedroom, there were 2 coffee mugs on the nightstand. His boots still under the bed. A black t-shirt draped over my dresser. My space. His stink. I opened Hannah's jewelry box. Nestled among her necklaces was a second phone. Burn phone. Basic model. Burner style. No facial ID. Just a 4-digit passcode. Amateur hour. I cracked it in 15 minutes. Her birthday. Backward. The call log? Dozens of calls to a number not saved in her main phone. Voicemails. Texts. GPS pings showing late-night trips to motels on Bragg Boulevard. One text stood out. You sure he's still deployed? Don't need another surprise like last time. My blood went cold. Last time? There was a last time? I scrolled further. The earliest message from Travis was dated almost 7 months ago, right after I left for Baghdad. She hadn't just slipped up. This had been planned, rehearsed, and I'd been the goddamn audience to my own humiliation. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. Not crying, not shouting, just thinking. Because now I knew two things for sure. She'd brought another man into our bed, into our home, while I was in a hellhole patching up boys who'd been blown apart. Someone wanted me to find out, and they were feeding me breadcrumbs. The photos, the letter, the burner phone, tucked just clumsily enough to be found, which meant there was someone else in the mix. Someone who knew, someone close enough to blow the lid off her lie, and still playing quiet. That's what made this dangerous. This wasn't just a cheating wife and a punk-ass soldier playing house while I was gone. This was a setup, and I wasn't just the betrayed, I was being guided. I left the house without touching a thing. By the time I hit the main road, my phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. You've seen enough to know. If you want the truth, check the drop at mile marker 71, west side of the highway. Noon. No name. No trace. Just a message sent at the exact moment I left the house. Someone was watching me, and I wasn't sure if they were friend or just another enemy who knew how to wait. Mile marker 71 was 30 minutes west on a stretch of highway that ran parallel to the woods. Remote. Sparse traffic. The kind of place people didn't stop unless they meant to. I got there early. Parked the truck on the shoulder, engine off. I scanning the tree lane. Wind carried the scent of pine and old asphalt. Sun hung high and hot. Nothing moved. I waited. Didn't like this. Felt too clean. Too planned. But war teaches you. Intel is rarely where you want it, and you don't get to pick the delivery method. At 11:57, a dark gray pickup pulled off the road a few hundred yards up. Old model. Tinted windows. Didn't approach. Didn't signal. 2 minutes later, it was gone. But in its place, I spotted it. A small black Pelican case tucked behind a rusted-out road sign, half hidden by dry brush. I approached slow, hand on the grip of my pistol, scanning every angle. No wires. No sensors. No obvious tampering. I opened it. Inside were two things. A thumb drive. A folded note. The note was handwritten, tight block letters, military, probably. You want the truth? Start with this. Don't go to the cops. Don't go to your chain of command. Watch first. Then decide who you really need to bury. I didn't recognize the handwriting. No name. No signature. No fingerprints. But the drive? That held the good stuff. I took it back to my truck. Hooked it up to the secure laptop I'd kept locked in the glove box since Baghdad. Paranoia ain't just a habit, it's insurance. There were 3 video files. The first one was grainy surveillance footage. Timestamped. Nighttime, about 3 months ago. It showed Hannah and Travis, but not at my house. They were at Fort Bragg, in an unmarked military office. She was sitting at a desk, him pacing behind her. She looked tense. He looked furious. Audio was patchy, but one phrase jumped out clear as crystal from Travis's mouth. If he finds out, we're all screwed. The second file was a cell phone video, shot from inside a car. The camera zoomed in on a building, looked like a storage unit. The same Charger was parked out front. Travis and Hannah exited with a briefcase and 2 other men in civvies. She was shaking hands with someone I recognized from base. Not military. Contractor. Not just cheating. This was operations-level stuff. Compromising information. Movement of goods or data. Something more than sex and lies. The third video? That one stopped my breath cold. Travis, talking to someone off camera, in a dark room. Looks like a private bar or club. He's drunk. Loosened up. She said he'd never question it, he slurred. He's old school. By the time he figures it out, we'll be gone. The files will be buried. No heat. Then, the voice from off camera asked, "You sure the husband won't be a problem?" Travis laughed. "He's a ghost, man. Just another burned-out soldier. She's been running him for years. Running him. Me. They weren't just playing around. They were using me." I closed the laptop, stared out at the trees, and let the weight settle. So this wasn't just an affair. It was a play. A long con. Maybe government-connected. Maybe something black market. But I'd been targeted. Used. By her. By him. By whoever they were working with. And someone whoever dropped this case wanted me to know. But not to get justice. To be a weapon. That night, I parked outside a dive bar off Ramsey Street. One of the old E6 watering holes where soldiers go to drink away ghosts. Travis was there. I knew he would be. He always was on Thursdays. I watched him for an hour. Laughing. Drinking. His hands on another woman now. Same game, different player. He didn't know I'd seen the videos, that I'd heard him. He didn't know that tomorrow his world would start to cave in. Because I wasn't going to the cops. I wasn't going to command. I was going hunting. And every single bastard involved, starting with him, was going to learn what happens when you turn a soldier into a weapon. I didn't sleep. Didn't try. Sleep was for men who didn't just find out their wife had turned them into a damn puppet. For men who didn't just watch footage of their life being used like a front in some shady op-me. I was past that. I spent the night doing what I used to do before a mission, gathering intel, watching patterns, drawing up a list. Except this time, the targets weren't insurgents. They were my own people. First thing in the morning, I went back to Mathis. Brought coffee, 2 extra black. He looked at my face and didn't ask stupid questions. Just took the coffee, took a sip, and said, "You got something nasty brewing, don't you?" I handed him a flash drive. 3 videos, I said. Need a deep pull on the faces. Especially the 2 guys in the second clip, the ones helping Travis and Hannah with that case. He plugged it into his secure laptop, cracked his knuckles, and got to work. "Give me a couple hours," he said. "Give me one." While Mathis ran his scans, I took a trip to an old contact, Frankie the Wrench Delano. Not his real name, obviously. Ex-Special Forces turned PI with a talent for finding things the law missed. Frankie owed me. Kandahar, 2010. I dragged him out of a building with both legs full of shrapnel and a femoral artery half open. He remembered that debt. "Need a plate run," I said. "Black Dodge Charger. Georgia military plates. Numbers on this napkin." He grunted. "You got a name?" "Travis Dean." He paused. Why'd I know that name? Because we've both seen it in places we weren't supposed to be. He didn't ask more. Just nodded and walked off. Frankie was like that. Quiet. Loyal. Dangerous. Back at Mathis' shop, he had results. "Your 2 mystery men," he said, pointing to the still frame from the storage unit video, "are not military." He pulled up files on both. One was Eli Shore. Private security. Worked overseas in Iraq and Syria with various contractors. Dishonorably discharged before that, for theft of classified material. Other one? Derek Callan. Civilian analyst. Suspended twice from a government project for accessing unauthorized servers. Quietly let go. No charges filed. But both of them now? Working for a company called Belmore Strategic Solutions, a contracting firm with deep ties to government black budget projects. The kind of place that's technically private, but exists only because Uncle Sam says so. And now they were seen with my wife and her boy toy, moving what looked like data. "You starting to see it?" Mathis asked. "Yeah," I said. They weren't just cheating. They were trafficking. My phone buzzed. Message from Frankie. "Plate belongs to Travis Dean. Assigned to Fort Benning 2 years ago. Transferred to Bragg after an incident with a married intel officer's wife. Quiet transfer. No paperwork trail." There it was again, pattern of behavior. This wasn't the first marriage he'd set on fire. But this time, he picked the wrong fireman. By 1700, I was outside Travis's apartment. Not the house, his apartment. I figured someone like him wouldn't fully move in. Would keep a fallback place. Bachelor pad, just in case things got complicated. Door was locked, but not alarmed. I picked it in 30 seconds flat. Ain't lost a step. Inside, it was exactly what I expected. Cheap bourbon. Protein powder. Tactical gear. Xbox. No books, no photos of family. Just a stack of burner phones in a drawer and a flash drive marked HR in black Sharpie. I pocketed it. Then I took his toothbrush, his socks, and just for fun, pissed in his bourbon. Petty? Sure. But a man's got to enjoy the little victories on his way to war. Back at Mathis's place, I cracked open Travis's flash drive. What I found nearly made me put my fist through the monitor. Dozens of encrypted files labeled with initials and acronyms. Most were dead ends. But one folder, HRCom, was loaded with screenshots of text messages and email threads. Between Hannah and someone named CC. The name came up again and again. CC says the timing's good. CC confirmed the contractor payout. CC will handle Brian if it comes to it. That was the one that stopped me cold. Handle Brian. That's what they said when they wanted someone gone. Neutralized. Discredited. Silenced. They weren't just using me. They were planning to bury me. I closed the laptop and stood still for a long time. All those years overseas, watching men betray each other for politics, for money, for ideology, and now here I was, betrayed in my own backyard. But I had something they didn't. Time. Training. And no leash. They thought I was predictable. Just another soldier with a broken heart and a mortgage. But I wasn't broken. I was loading. The first thing I did was scan every inch of that flash drive again. I ran metadata checks, location pings, file origin tracking, the whole digital bloodhound routine. I wanted to know who CC was. I wanted a name. I wanted an address. I wanted to look the bastard in the eyes before I carved the truth out of him. But the drive had been wiped clean of breadcrumbs. No IPs. No metadata. Pro job. Someone who'd done this before. That told me something. CC wasn't just a code name. CC was a ghost. A spook. Government-trained or military-adjacent. The kind of person who doesn't get found unless you know where to dig. So I started digging. Mathis came up dry. Frankie too. Not because they weren't trying, but because the name CC didn't exist in any official channels. No initials tied to Travis's known associates. No contractor logs. No Belmore files. But I knew one thing they didn't. My wife used to keep an old burner email long before any of this started. She once used it to sign up for some online coupon nonsense and forgot to log out. I remember the handle, CountryCharm77 at. I tried it. The inbox was dead. But the sent folder? Goldmine. Only 2 addresses she ever contacted from that account. One was Travis. The other? Colin.Crestwell@bss-co.org. There it was. CC. And now I had a full name. Colin Crestwell. I ran it through every database I had access to. Mathis pulled from old contractor logs. Frankie worked the social web and pulled connections out of thin air. I even called a guy in D.C. I hadn't spoken to since the Fallujah push back when Intel meant blood and boots on the ground. The profile came back like a sealed file someone tried to bury. DoD Intelligence Liaison, 2005 to 2012. Disappeared after a classified incident overseas, some operation that went sideways in Eastern Europe. Popped back up 4 years later in the private sector. Now? Executive-level coordinator at Belmore Strategic Solutions. That's who they had in their corner. A wash spook with deep pockets, black budget connections, and a trail of bodies so quiet you'd never hear the screams. But here's the thing about ghosts. Even they cast shadows when the light hits right. I found him. A condo in downtown Raleigh. High-end. Top floor. Listed under a shell company with an offshore account attached. Paper trail clean. Too clean. So I paid a visit. Didn't go in guns blazing. Not yet. I wanted intel, not blood. Not first. The concierge was a soft target. Young, bored, underpaid. I wore my old army jacket, dropped a name from Crestwell's past, told him I was old friends, just surprising him. 10 minutes later, I had an access pass to the elevator and a guest keycard. Just like that. I didn't knock. I waited until after 0200, when the lights were off and silence blanketed the condo like fresh snow. Then I slipped inside. The place was spotless. No signs of struggle. No mess. Just white walls, dark wood, and cold air that smelled like expensive cologne and control. I moved room to room until I found the study. Locked. I picked it. Inside, a desk, 3 monitors, and a file cabinet bolted to the wall. One of the monitors was still warm. He'd been here. Recently. There were documents open, emails, schematics, asset lists. One folder was labeled HOP, Exposure Protocol. I opened it. I shouldn't have been surprised. But I was. There she was. Hannah. Listed as H1. Handler code assigned. Below that? Travis Dean. Asset. Active manipulation / operational proximity. They weren't just sleeping together. She was recruiting him. He was a tool. And me? B. Coleman. Potential complication / containment suggested / leverage pending. Leverage. They were planning to use me. To tie me to something dirty. Probably plant a laptop. Maybe a file on my system. Tie me to Crestwell's black market mess. Then make me disappear. And that envelope I got overseas? Not some good Samaritan. That was bait. Someone inside their op tried to turn me into a tool, a weapon, or a fall guy. Maybe all 3. And now they knew I was digging. Because as I was copying the files to my own drive, my phone buzzed. No caller ID. I answered. Brian, the voice said. Calm. Crisp. Educated. You should have left this alone. Colin, I said. A chuckle. Of course. You always were sharper than most. Which is why I advised Hannah to leave you out of this entirely. She didn't. She always had. Attachments. Unfortunate. But predictable. Now here we are. I didn't speak. Just let him fill the silence. You're in my home, he continued. Taking files. You know that's a federal offense. You're not federal. A pause. No. I'm worse. And if you're smart, you'll walk away now. You have enough training to know what's coming if you don't. I smiled. I do. Then I'll give you one warning, soldier to soldier. If you push this further, there's no going back. I went past back the minute you used my wife to get to me. Then we'll see you soon. Click. I stood there in the dark, looking around his perfect condo. Everything in its place. Ordered. Quiet. He thought that was power. He forgot one thing. I'm not afraid of the dark. I didn't go home. I didn't call anyone. After that phone call with Crestwell, I went dark. Ghost mode. No more surveillance. No more snooping. It was time to dismantle the house of lies, brick by brick. Crestwell thought he had me figured out. He'd read the file, seen the medals, probably had some dusty psych eval stamped, stable under stress. He thought I'd take the bait, get loud, go reckless. But I wasn't in combat mode. I was in mission mode. And missions like this? They required silence. So I did what I was trained to do. I planned. I set up in an old storage unit on the south side, one I'd kept for years with my personal gear, long before Hannah ever came into the picture. Inside was everything I needed: burner phones, hard drives, cash, tools, and an old friend, the Remington 700 I used to hunt insurgents from rooftops in Basra. First step, divide and isolate. They were operating as a cell: Travis, Hannah, Crestwell, and at least 2 other contractors. That kind of setup only works when the network stays whole. You cut the links between them, you break the chain. So I went after the weak link first. Travis Dean. He was the asset, the tool, the fool, the pretty face with no operational discipline and an ego 3 miles wide. I knew how to break guys like that. Not through force. Through fear. Real fear. Not pain, exposure. I started with his car. Parked it outside his apartment again. Same time. Same spot. I left a flash drive on the seat. Inside it, a single file. Video footage of Travis and Hannah in the base hotel. From 2 months ago. Shot through a long lens. Clear. Damning. No context. No message. Just the footage. I watched from a nearby rooftop as he came out, saw the flash drive, popped it into his laptop right there in the car. He watched the footage once. Then again. Then he started looking around. Paranoid now. Good. I sent the next one 12 hours later via text. A photo. Him and Crestwell. Taken at the storage unit drop from weeks ago. Then a voice message. Distorted. Masked. You're not just a liability, Travis. You're a loose end. Ever wonder why they never let you in the room when the deals were made? An hour later, he checked out of his apartment. Good. Right on schedule. I wanted him scared. Alone. On the run. Because a man like that? He'll always break before he bleeds. Next target, Derek Callan. The civilian analyst. The data guy. Quiet. Methodical. And not ready for someone like me. I sent a package to his office. Inside? A printed dossier of the Belmore files. His emails. His financials. A note. You're in deep. When Crestwell burns you, this goes to federal prosecutors. We should talk. I left a burner number. And waited. Didn't take long. Callan called at 1:43 a.m., breathless, shaky. I don't know who you are, he said, but I'm not dying for Crestwell. Then prove it. I've got everything. Payment records. Meeting logs. Crestwell used Hannah as a recruiter. Targeted veterans with clean records. Blackmail leverage. Why? Because you were clear. Untouched. Loyal. They wanted a fall guy for the files they were moving offshore. I felt the burn in my chest. Not anger anymore. Fuel. And the others? I asked. I'll send you what I have. But you didn't get it from me. He's got people. Fed connections. He doesn't play fair. I hung up without a word. Didn't need promises. Didn't need thanks. I had what I needed, a crack in the armor. Then came Hannah. I waited outside her yoga studio. She always went Thursdays at 10, like clockwork. She came out in leggings and sunglasses, phone in hand, looking relaxed. She didn't see me until I stepped in front of her. The second she did, her face went pale. The guilt? It was there, but buried under shock, maybe even fear. Brian, Jesus, you scared me. You got 5 minutes. She started to speak. I held up a hand. No lies. No tears. Just answers. She looked around, like someone might save her. I stepped closer. I know about Crestwell. I know what you and Travis were doing. I've seen the files. You weren't just cheating. You were setting me up. She flinched like I'd slapped her. It wasn't supposed to go that far, she whispered. He said, it would just be surveillance. That you were a risk. A risk? I said, voice low. You used my name. My record. You tried to bury me in someone else's mess. I didn't know what he was planning. Travis was supposed to keep tabs. But then Crestwell, he started getting erratic. He threatened me. I stared at her. This woman I once thought was an anchor. Now just driftwood. You picked the wrong team, I said. And now I'm cleaning up the mess. She reached for my arm. Brian, please. Don't do anything. I pulled away. I'm not doing anything. I'm finishing it. I let her walk away. She wouldn't run. Not with Crestwell still watching her. That's what made her useful. And I'd use her just like she used me. One more piece on the board. Because this game? It wasn't about betrayal anymore. It was about exposure, retribution, and ending it on my terms. Crestwell made one mistake. He underestimated me. Men like him always do. They look at the medals, the quiet demeanor, the blue-collar life after discharge, and think we went soft. Like loyalty makes us weak. Like peace erases training. But peace doesn't erase anything. It just gives a man time to aim. The file Callan sent was enough to break Belmore's strategic in half. Bank transfers, black site asset logs, payoffs to military officials, and a breakdown of something called OP Seraphim, which included not just Hannah, Travis, and Crestwell, but me. They'd written me into a fall operation that never happened. Fabricated logs, faked authorizations, digital footprints sewn like landmines into my career history. That's what the setup was for. Not just surveillance or scapegoating. They were preparing to pin everything on me. And I was done playing defense. I sent the file to 4 places. Izzy Mendez, former Army CID, now federal contractor with a score to settle. A journalist friend in D.C. who owed me 2 favors and a bottle of Glenlivet. A burner drop at Belmore's internal compliance desk. And finally, Crestwell himself. The email to him was short. Thought you'd appreciate seeing how this ends. Consider it a courtesy. I'm not hiding. I'll be waiting. Then I picked the place. Abandoned Field Operations House outside Durham. Used to be a forward operating simulation site. Shut down 5 years ago. Quiet. Off-grid. No cameras. No neighbors. I left the front door open. Just a chair in the middle of the room. 1 file folder on the table. And me sitting, calm, unarmed, waiting. It took less than 2 hours. Black Escalade. 2 men with earpieces. They came in first, guns drawn, textbook sweep. But I'd left no surprises. Just open air and tension. Then Crestwell stepped in. He looked exactly like his file photo. Gray suit. Expensive watch. Sharp jawline. Soft hands. The kind of man who made calls while others bled. He didn't sit. I'll admit, he said, I didn't think you'd go this far. I didn't respond. He walked to the table, flipped open the folder. Inside was a single page, his own asset roster, names crossed out in red. All but one. You think this is justice, he said. You've stirred up something bigger than me. You're a speck on a file, Brian. Nothing more. I stood. Took a slow step toward him. I don't give a damn about bigger. I care about what you did to me. To my name. To my family. He chuckled. Family? You think Hannah was innocent? She volunteered. Travis was a pawn. You were the tool. I was just doing what I've always done, securing national interests. I stopped 2 feet from him. You call that security? I said, voice low. Using soldiers like disposable assets? Burning us down so your ghost budgets stay funded? He met my eyes. Cold. Smug. I call it the cost of maintaining order. You're a relic, Coleman. Men like you, duty-bound, predictable, you're useful until you're not. He reached inside his coat. That's when the red dot hit his chest. He froze. From the tree line outside, Mathis gave a low whistle. Crestwell didn't know he was being tracked from the minute he got off the highway. I stepped closer. You thought I came alone? Crestwell's face changed. Just for a second. A crack in the stone. Then arrogance returned. You're not going to shoot me. No, I said, and slid a USB drive across the table. But the feds will. That drive has everything. I made sure it went wide. This is checkmate. He stared at it. Then at me. I can disappear. You won't, I said. You'll be picked up before sunrise. Your men flipped. Your bank accounts flagged. I let the clock run out while you drove here. He looked at me like a man seeing fire for the first time. You won't survive this, he said. Already did, I replied. He turned to leave, but the door opened before he got there. Frankie. shotgun in hand. Crestwell stopped dead. Federal hold, Frankie said, voice flat. You're under citizen's detainment until they get here. You can play tough, or we can play loud. Crestwell looked at me one last time. Hatred etched deep. You were never the mission. I smiled. No, I was the consequence. We watched them take him away. No press. No lights. Just a quiet snatch and grab, like he'd done to dozens before me. Justice doesn't always come with a bang. Sometimes, it comes with silence. And steel in the right hands. The news didn't hit the public. Not yet. Crestwell's arrest was buried behind red tape and sealed warrants. But the people who needed to know? They knew. And the ones who were left? They started scattering like cockroaches under floodlights. Travis disappeared 2 days later. Left the state. Changed his name. Last I heard, he was holed up in some Arizona desert town pretending to be a security consultant. Nobody cared enough to chase him. Not after Callan handed over his full confession and every traceable asset he had. Belmore Strategic went into lockdown. Their board dissolved within a week. Feds moved in. Half their data centers went dark overnight. I thought that'd be the end of it. Thought maybe, just maybe, I could finally let it go. But then she came back. Hannah showed up at the old house wearing sorrow like a second skin. Black jeans, big sunglasses. Like she thought dressing down would make the memory of betrayal fade. I didn't open the door for her. Watched her through the peephole. Her hands shook when she knocked. Good. I made her wait a full minute before stepping outside. She tried to smile. Brian. I didn't know where else to go. You should have kept going, I said. I heard Crestwell was arrested. That everything's falling apart. I didn't know what he was really doing. I swear. I thought we were just what? I cut in. Lying to me? Setting me up? Getting cozy with a man who would have fed me to a black site if I coughed too loud. He said you were dangerous, she whispered. Said you had a past no one talked about. That you were flagged. Everyone in our business has a past, I said. You just sold mine to the highest bidder. She looked away. Tears now. Of course. You don't understand what it was like. You were always gone. Always somewhere else. I waited. I did. But then Travis came along, and stop. My voice was ice. You're not here for forgiveness. You're here because the house is burning and you've got nowhere left to sleep. She swallowed. I didn't mean for it to end this way. No, I said. You meant for it to end with me disgraced. Imprisoned. Or dead. Her eyes met mine then. The truth finally in them. And maybe that was the worst part. That underneath all the regret, she still didn't think she deserved the weight of what she'd done. You'll be subpoenaed, I told her. Testimony. Under oath. If you cooperate, maybe they'll cut you a deal. If you don't, you'll sink with the rest of them. What about us? She asked. I almost laughed. There is no us. She stepped forward. Reached for me like muscle memory. I didn't move. She stopped short. Knew better. You still love me, she said. No, I said quietly. I love the person I thought you were. That person doesn't exist. Silence. Just the wind brushing through dying trees. She wiped her face, turned away, walked back to her car. She hesitated, like she wanted to say something. But what could she possibly offer? A sorry for treason? For betrayal? For using a soldier's trust like a key to unlock ruin? Her engine started. She drove off. And I didn't watch her disappear. I turned my back before the tires left the driveway. Some things don't deserve a goodbye. That night, I sat in the same kitchen she used to cook in. Cracked a beer. Didn't drink it. Just stared out the window and listened to the quiet. Real quiet this time. The kind that doesn't hum with threat. The kind that doesn't smell like sweat and lies. It was over. Not clean. Not victorious. But over. They say no where really ends. That it just moves to someone else's backyard. Maybe they're right. But for once, mine was silent. And silence, after all this, that was enough. They tried to write me out of my own story. Turn me into a footnote. A name on a file buried deep enough to forget. But men like me don't disappear. We endure. We survive. We wait. Then we strike. And when the smoke clears, we're still standing. Scarred, maybe. But standing. The fallout came fast after Crestwell's arrest. Belmore Strategic imploded. Lawsuits. Leaks. 3 board members vanished into foreign jurisdictions. One was found floating in a lake outside Zurich. Another put a bullet in his own mouth before the feds could finish knocking. Travis tried to keep running. Used fake names, changed plates, shifted states like socks. But when you're marked, there's no hiding. I didn't go after him. I didn't need to. Men like him unravel without help. I gave it 6 months, tops. Hannah testified. Quiet, measured, rehearsed. Claimed she was manipulated. That she was coerced. Maybe parts of it were true. Maybe not. Didn't matter. Her deal cut her sentence down to probation and community service. Last I heard, she moved to Florida. Works part-time at a bookstore. Tells people her husband died overseas. I let her have that. Sometimes, letting someone live with the lie is the better punishment. Me? I stayed low. Got the house sold, truck cleaned up, name cleared in every system that mattered. The military never called. They don't like admitting when one of their own nearly got eaten by the machine. But the right people know. That's enough. Mathis went back to his shop. Frankie disappeared. Just how he likes it. Callan turned witness and then ghosted into witness protection. Izzy sent me a message one night, just a photo. Sunset over the Potomac. Caption said, "One less ghost on the books." That meant Crestwell didn't make it to trial. I didn't ask how. I just nodded at the screen, closed my phone, and opened a beer. These days, I live quiet. Found a small town out in Tennessee. Good land. Fewer questions. I wake up early. Go for long walks. Sometimes I sit in the dark with an old cigar and just listen. Not for danger. Not anymore. Just for the stillness. Some nights I dream of war. Other nights I dream of her. Neither one wakes me up. That's how I know I'm healing. The truth is, betrayal doesn't break you all at once. It eats slow. Like rust. But if you're lucky, you cut out the rot before it spreads too far. If you're trained, you know when to strike the match. And if you're built like me, you don't forgive. You endure. And when they come for you next time, you make damn sure they regret not finishing the job. I'm Brian Coleman, retired staff sergeant. Decorated. Betrayed. Forgotten by some. Remembered by others. But above all, I'm still here.